Today, I'm going to talk about actually creating a water budget because you need to know how much rainwater you need to harvest or how much rainwater you're actually receiving and what your plants are actually wanting. So in this video, I'm going to go over how much rainwater is actually received, and then in another video, I'll do the demand, which is how much to account for each of your plants and trees and all of that, so that then you can have a water budget and know, do you have enough water? How much water do you need to capture? And then how much are you going to have to pay for just by turning on the tap? All right, here we go. Here you can see I've listed all the possible surfaces where rainwater is going to land on my property, on my house, anywhere that I have potential to take advantage of it. So that includes like bare ground. The place that I didn't include was my front lawn because I actually don't have control over that. That's controlled by the homeowners association, so that's why you don't see that on this list, which is the benefit of not living in a homeowners association, but they mow it. So, okay, there was a trade-off there, I'll be honest. Now, what I want to talk about is the difference in the sources. So this roof that actually is going towards the back versus the roof that's going towards the front, that's the same main roof of my house. However, I have 4 scuppers, and one of them, there's just no logistically sane way that I can take that and use it in the back of the house. So I have to put in a rain gutter with a downspout that'll aim it in a way where it's not aimed at my foundation of my house, which is something that you should be looking at. Make sure that none of your downspouts are posed in a way that's actually going to allow the water to erode your foundation. We want to try and get water at least 6 feet away from our foundation, if not more. Now, you might not have that kind of space to work with, but you need to at least keep it away from your foundation and flowing away. Okay, there's that soapbox. But anyways, back to the roof. Between the roof and my garage roof and the back patio cover, all of those things are surfaces that are elevated that I'll be collecting water from. Now, there is a difference. So from my roof on my house and my garage roof, those are actually going to go into rain gutters that I will be able to have the opportunity to collect in a rain tank if I choose to, if I can. Whereas the back patio, because it came with its own custom rain gutter, I could potentially catch it, but unfortunately I have birds that nest in it every spring, and that means there's a lot of crap and debris, I mean bird crap, that comes out of it. Previous owners have just done their creative cutting into it to try to clean it properly because there was no real easy way to clean it that was left. So what I'm going to do is somehow restore the downspouts or the ability to have the water flow out and be directed. That'll be my project for that particular water source. And then I'll be able to point that, like, for one of them will go towards my citrus tree, and one of them will go towards, like, one growing area, and then I'll end up with 3 of them. So I've got a kind of an idea of where they'll be pointed so that they can help water things, because that is a substantial water source and I don't want to lose it. In any 3-month period, I could potentially collect about 700 gallons, and that's, out of 4,800 gallons for that same period, that's pretty substantial. So I want that, but it's not going to happen in the same grouping with my roof and my garage roofs. So I'll come back to those numbers in a minute, but I want to continue through this list and how I considered them. The next thing that I considered was bare ground. So this is my 1,100 square feet of actual yard. So I do have a pretty good sized patio back there, but it's paved and it's covered. So I am left with about 1,100 square feet, not complaining. I'm just saying. That's what I have. And that is bare ground. So if you notice, I have these runoff coefficients, and that's what I wanted to kind of compare. So the runoff coefficient is just saying approximately, for this roof, approximately 90% of it is actually going to run off the roof. Now, it could pool on the roof. It could evaporate off. It could get stuck somewhere. It could, there's all sorts of reasons why that other 10% wouldn't make it. But on average, I would say about 90% of it is going to make it off. Same thing for the garage and my back patio cover. But when it comes to bare ground, I'm actually considering that about 60% of it is going to get absorbed right there on the ground, and maybe 40% of it will run off. Now, I have a pretty good infiltration rate, so aside from specific areas in my yard, that doesn't really sit for very long. So 40% is probably like an overestimate of how much would actually run anywhere. Now, I do have a paved path I had to put in between my house and the neighbor's house. It's about 4 feet wide, and I don't remember if it was 45 or I think I estimated 45 right there, feet long. I had to pave it because it was just water. It was basically like a shallow swimming pool between our houses, and it was flooding into my garage. So that I had to grade it away from my garage, which means it's now going towards my yard. And I thought I was doing a good thing because it would go into it would go into sandy soil. But what I found out was that that path underneath what I just paved was actually clay soils. So I hadn't put in the last section yet, and it just made like a little pool where it's just ponding. And so when we were getting like these major monsoon season rains this last summer, I was like, oh my God, if it fills up anymore, if we get any more rain, it's literally going to start where it could go more onto my patio than it already did. If you watch some of my other videos, I actually show where just like mud was starting to flush over my patio. So that is actually paved, but I put a 0.8. I didn't seal the cement, and I didn't seal it for a reason. Cement is actually very water hungry, which is what makes it a very unfriendly construction material because it takes so much water. But here's the flip side of that. If it has enough lime in it, and this has been tested and proven, the state of Utah actually looked at this for their road construction formulations. And if you have enough lime in it, which again, not super environmentally friendly, but it can actually self-repair to some extent. This isn't like it's going to stand up and get a jackhammer and fill in all the potholes, but as you get like micro stuff happening, when you get it wet, it can actually self-heal. And that's the properties that I wanted to encourage when I had to put this down. There wasn't a way that I could just paver it and not have stuff growing up through it. I literally had like a jungle in that little pathway. So the seed bed was enormous. The only way that I could keep anything from growing was to completely cover it. So I've given it a 0.8. Long story short, or long story long, however you want to say that. Now, this is the 25% of my roof volume that I am making an assumption will go towards the front of the house, and that's about almost 700 gallons. It's probably roughly 700 gallons in a season. Now, if we get a 1-inch rain, which we have, but they're not very frequent, it'd be roughly 200 gallons. So that's why it's such a problem with it's just going straight down and burrowing a hole right by my foundation of my house. I don't want that. And I've got to have that dealt with. Now, I do have a little bit of an overhang that comes down over my front patio. It doesn't cover the whole patio, which is how I'm able to grow things there, but it is a decent size. It does provide some cover. Like if it's raining, I don't have to stand in the rain trying to get keys out or anything like that. But this is the square footage that I'm estimating. I haven't actually technically pulled out a tape measure, but I did some Google Earth measuring just to get a quick idea so that I could put it in here. And then again, it's actually tile covered right there. So it might not be 0.9, it might be 0.8. That tile might actually take some up. But this is a good estimate for now. In a 1-inch rain, I might get 50 gallons off of that. So I'm actually considering maybe putting like a rain barrel or something right there to help capture some of that I could use to water my plants in that small little area. But, first things first, I got to make sure that I'm taking care of areas that are getting damaged by the rain. So that's a later down the road project. All in all, my totals for my backyard, which is where my focus is, that's where my garden is. If I got a 1-inch rain, which doesn't happen very often, I would get 1,600 gallons. Now, I did look up my annual rain, and that's usclimatedata.com. And they said the annual for the Phoenix area is 7.22 inches. I'm estimating that probably in one of the 2 rainy seasons, at minimum, I'll get about 3 inches if we don't have some sort of drought happening, which means total I would get about 4,800 of that. Now, that's just in my backyard. That's not everything. But that's still a substantial amount. I mean, over the course of a year, that's over 11,005, we'll say. That's a lot of gallons of water that I can use to water my plants and help offset the demand, which I believe was about 2,500 gallons for a rainy season, or for one growing season, I should say. So I should be able to do it with that 4,800. Now, let's take a look at some questions that I asked myself once I had calculated all this. And I did this a little bit different so that I could bring in a question at a time. So the first question is, how much rain will I get that I'll have to worry about getting it infiltrated into the ground to prevent the flooding that I was talking about earlier? And that is about 1,100 gallons. And I want to say that is this right here. So in a 1-inch event, I believe that's what I have. In a 1-inch event, it's the roof and the garage roof that is actually running off and coming back towards the back now. And I need that to get saturated into the ground, infiltrating. So I have a plan to put it's kind of like a French drain, but with a perforated pipe assist to be able to disperse that into my yard. And I did the calculations, and I only need about 20 linear feet of it. So that was amazing. That was a win. Now, the next question is, how much rain? Let me see if I can get it without. Okay. How much rain does my backyard receive in a single rainy season? And we have that number right here. That's where this came from. Now, what does that tell me? When I look at how much I need for the months that I don't get rain, I want to know, do I have enough in a single rainy season that I can collect it to be able to cover those months when I'm not getting rain? And I'll show you a little bit later on that, and I kind of already gave it away that yes, I do. Okay, so let's see. The other one, kind of the same question, but it asked in a slightly different way. How much am I able to capture? So I receive 4,800, but how much am I actually able to put into a rain tank is only what I'm getting on my roofs, right? My garage and my main house roof. So that's only these two numbers. What I'm getting on my back patio cover, like I just said, is not going to be capturable. It's usable, but I'm not going to be able to put it into a rain tank where I can use it later. That's why these two numbers are different. And it makes a huge difference when you want a source of water besides paying for the utility water from the city or wherever. This makes a huge difference. That's 1,800 gallons difference. Okay, so let's go to this last number, which is how much water do I need to water my garden for 3 dry months between wet seasons? And that number came out to about 2,500 gallons. I'm going to compare back up to this, how much I could capture in a rainy season, and that was 3,000 gallons. This number is bigger than this number, so that's a win. Woohoo! Yes! I'm so excited about seeing those numbers, but I don't know if you watched my other video on the consumers. But I was talking about, I don't know that I can fit a 2,500 gallon tank into my backyard. I don't know how much it costs or if I can afford that. Those are the other considerations. I already know that I would use at least 2,500 gallons, but can I afford it? Do I have space for it? Those are where I might get hung up. So I have a great win in all the water that I'll get, but I might not be able to use it, which is sad. All right. Well, I hope this was helpful to you. I hope I explained it deep enough. If you have any questions, please put them down in the comments. I hope this will allow you to go back and do something similar for your own house. Again, if you can't, then please reach out and we can talk about how we can help you out. All right. That's enough from me for this video, and happy growing.